You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. What leads a brilliant mind to see technology as a danger so immense that it justifies violence? Tonight, we're diving into Ted Kaczynski's Manifesto, Industrial Society, and its Future. What leads a brilliant mind to see technology as a danger so immense that it justifies violence? Today, we're diving into Ted Kaczynski's Manifesto, Industrial Society, and its Future, to explore the radical ideology that drove him from intellectual achievement to domestic terrorism. His manifesto laid out a view of technology as a force that crushes human freedom and disrupts the very fabric of society. But there was more than just a critique. It was a warning, one so controversial that the FBI faced a serious dilemma over whether it should even be published. We're going to break down Kaczynski's core arguments, taking a closer look at his views on technology, society, and the cost of progress. We'll also explore the enduring influence of his words, how a manifesto published in the 90s may still be shaping today's conversations on technology and even sparking extremist movements. Kaczynski's manifesto didn't just target technology, it questioned the entire structure of modern society, provoking an ethical debate that still reverberates. Could his warnings about technology resonate more today than ever? Stay with us as we delve into the disturbing depths of Kaczynski's ideology and examine the far-reaching impact of his ideas. Ideas that didn't disappear with his capture, but instead may continue to shape modern thought. Ted Kaczynski's Manifesto, Industrial Society and its Future, presents a scathing critique of modern technology and industrialization. His arguments revolve around a central theme, that technology and industrial society fundamentally threaten human freedom and autonomy. According to Kaczynski, the rapid advancement of technology has not only diminished individual control over our own lives, it has also reshaped society in ways that he believed to be profoundly harmful. At the heart of Kaczynski's manifesto is the argument that technology strips individuals of their freedom. He believed that as technology advances, it forces people into increasingly specialized roles, where they become cogs in a vast, impersonal machine. In his view, each new technological development demanded stricter systems of control and surveillance to maintain social order, diminishing people's sense of autonomy. Kaczynski argued that this erosion of autonomy wasn't just an unintended consequence. It was an inherent feature of technological progress. According to him, technology essentially enslaved humanity, replacing natural human processes and instincts with artificial structures and systems of control. Kaczynski argued that the structure of industrial society creates a void where true purpose should be. In his view, technological advancements have rendered much of human effort unnecessary, leading people to invent surrogate activities, hobbies, careers, and pursuits that fill time but lack real meaning. He believed that these activities, from career achievements to personal hobbies, were mere substitutes for the primal struggles that defined human existence for centuries. By stripping away the challenges that once gave life meaning, Kaczynski saw industrial society as creating a population adrift, disconnected from authentic purpose and fulfillment. A key argument Kaczynski made was that industrial society forces people to depend on complex systems beyond their control, eroding personal agency. He saw this dependency as a gradual but pervasive weakening of human autonomy. In his view, people could no longer rely on themselves for their basic needs, food, shelter, and safety, but instead had to depend on massive impersonal systems that dictate how resources are managed and distributed. This dependency, he argued, placed people under the control of institutions, corporations, and governments that prioritize their own interests, often at the expense of individual freedom. Kaczynski also argued that technological progress is a self-reinforcing cycle that can't be stopped or reversed. He saw technology as a force that, once unleashed, accelerates its own advancement, often in unpredictable ways that society is unable to fully control. In his view, any attempt to regulate or slow technological progress would ultimately fail, as new technologies would continue to emerge, driving humanity further from a natural state and deeper into dependence on artificial systems. He warned that this cycle was leading society towards a future where humanity's freedom and ability to self-govern would be completely sacrificed to technological systems. In addition to his critique of technology, Kaczynski also devoted a portion of his manifesto to what he called leftism. He argued that left-leaning ideologies exacerbated society's issues by promoting values that he believed stifled individual freedom and encouraged dependence on the very technological and industrial systems he opposed. Kaczynski contended that these ideologies focused on what he viewed as unnecessary social reforms, creating a moral landscape that aligned with justified technological control. His critique of leftism was broad and controversial, but in his eyes, it represented a fundamental part of what was wrong with modern society, a focus on values that led people away from self-reliance and toward collective dependency. Kaczynski's ultimate argument was that the only way to preserve human freedom was to dismantle industrial society entirely. He believed that reform was futile and that technological society could not be adjusted to accommodate human freedom. In his view, only a complete revolution against the technological and industrial systems that govern modern life could restore humanity to a state of autonomy. He called for a return to a simpler, pre-industrial way of life, where individuals could live self-sufficiently, free from the constraints of large-scale technological systems. The solution was radical and extreme, but to Kaczynski, it was the only way to prevent humanity's complete subjugation to technology. Kaczynski's manifesto paints a grim picture of modern technological society. He viewed technology as an unstoppable force that enslaves humanity, forces people into meaningless routines, and drives society towards a dystopian future where individual freedom is a distant memory. In his eyes, only a revolutionary break from industrial society could save humanity from this fate. While Kaczynski's arguments are controversial and his methods condemned, his critique of technology's impact on human autonomy continues to provoke discussion, raising questions about the complex relationship between freedom, purpose, and progress in an increasingly technological world. Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, outlines his staunch opposition to technology, which he saw as a powerful and inevitable force eroding human freedom and autonomy. To Kaczynski, technology wasn't just a tool or convenience. It was an oppressive system that gradually subjugates individuals, restructuring society to the point where people lose control over their lives. His extreme aversion to technology was deeply rooted in his belief that technological advancements are inherently incompatible with genuine human freedom, a conviction that would ultimately drive him to violent action. Kaczynski viewed technology as a direct and existential threat to individual freedom. He argued that as technology advances, it requires increasingly complex social structures to manage it, which in turn necessitate new forms of control, regulation over individuals. In his view, this technological expansion creates a system where people must conform to the needs of the machine rather than the other way around. Every new invention, according to Kaczynski, demanded more centralization, more laws, and more surveillance, leaving individuals with fewer choices and less autonomy over their daily lives. For Kaczynski, this wasn't a merely theoretical problem. It was a form of enslavement that gradually transformed human beings into cogs in a vast, impersonal machine. As he saw it, individuals became increasingly subject to rules and standards set by institutions, corporations, and government agencies that operate solely to sustain the technological system, not to protect personal freedom. Kaczynski argued that individuals were losing their ability to make independent choices, leaving society at the mercy of a technological system that no single person or group could control. One of Kaczynski's central beliefs was that technology creates a dependency that weakens humanity's sense of autonomy. People became more reliant on complex technological systems for basic needs. Food, shelter, communication, they lost the ability to live independently. Kaczynski viewed this dependence as profoundly dangerous, as it placed individuals at the mercy of massive impersonal institutions that managed resources, governed social behavior, and enforced compliance in his eyes. The more technology developed, the more people had to rely on external systems for survival, creating a society where genuine self-reliance wasn't possible. This dependence was a key reason Kaczynski felt technology posed such a threat. He saw that even essential decisions, where to live, what work to pursue, how to spend time, were increasingly shaped by what technological system required or made possible, rather than by individual choice. This loss of agency was, to Kaczynski, not just a societal problem, but a direct assault on personal freedom. The desire to preserve autonomy became one of his most driving motivations, leading him to oppose any form of technological progress that, in his mind, further entrenched dependency and eroded self-sufficiency. Kaczynski believed that technological progress was a runaway train that humanity couldn't control, stop, or reverse. He argued that once a society commits to technological advancement, it becomes locked into a cycle where each new invention demands further innovations to address the challenges it creates. This self-perpetuating cycle, he argued, pushed society further and further from a natural, self-sufficient way of life, and deeper into a structure of interdependent systems. In Kaczynski's view, even attempts to control or limit technology would inevitably fail, as the system itself has become self-sustaining, moving forward regardless of human intervention or intent. To Kaczynski, this meant that no reform or regulation could truly halt technological progress. As he saw it, technology would continue to evolve, demanding more resources, greater conformity, and stronger controls, leading to a future where human freedom and self-determination would be entirely eliminated. This belief in technology's unstoppable nature fueled his conviction that extreme measures were necessary. He felt that only by dismantling the industrial and technological society could humanity reclaim its autonomy. Kaczynski's views on technology were not purely theoretical. He believed that the threat was urgent and that society's path toward technological control justified drastic action. He saw the bombings as a form of necessary violence, intended to both disrupt the technological system and draw attention to the danger he believed it posed. Kaczynski's ultimate aim was to trigger a revolution against industrial society, one that would lead to the abandonment of advanced technology and return to a simpler, self-reliant way of life. Kaczynski rationalized his violent acts by positioning himself as a lone warrior against a system that he felt could not be stopped by peaceful means. In his mind, technological progress was so deeply rooted in society that only shock and disruption could possibly bring people to understand the dangers. The bombings were his way of forcing society to confront the threat he believed it ignored. His violent campaign was therefore not an expression of random aggression, but a calculated attempt to wake up society to what he considered the oppressive force of technology. At the core of Kaczynski's actions was a crusade against what he saw as systemic control. He perceived technology as something that removed decision-making from the individual and placed it in the hands of impersonal systems, leaving people powerless over their own lives. This resentment towards technological systems drove him to target institutions, such as universities and airlines, that he saw as symbols of industrial society control over human life. By attacking these institutions, Kaczynski hoped to send a message that the very foundations of modern society were built on oppressive systems that stripped individuals of true freedom. He saw the bombings as direct assaults on the mechanisms of control he believed were enslaving humanity, and he viewed each attack as a symbolic strike against the forces that upheld the technological system. His actions were intended to dismantle faith in technology's benefits, revealing the harm he saw beneath its surface. Kaczynski's opposition to technology was rooted in a belief that it posed a profound threat to individual freedom, autonomy, and the very essence of humanity. He saw the relentless march of technological progress as an unstoppable force that was transforming people into compliant parts of a mechanized society, stripping them of purpose, agency, and independence. In his mind, the only solution was a radical break from this trajectory. Dismantling the technological system that could restore humanity to a state of genuine autonomy. This conviction was the foundation of his campaign of violence, which he justified as an attempt to save humanity from a dystopian future governed by technology. So why was there a debate over publishing the Manifesto? The decision to publish Ted Kaczynski's Manifesto was one of the most contentious choices the FBI faced in their pursuit of the Unabomber. When Kaczynski offered to stop his bombings if major newspapers would publish his 35,000-word manifesto, he presented law enforcement with a dilemma. Meeting his demand could potentially end his violent campaign, but it also meant giving a platform to the thoughts and ideology of a domestic terrorist. The question wasn't only about stopping Kaczynski, it was about the broader implications of legitimizing his ideas by sharing them with the public. At the heart of the ethical debate was a question of whether publishing Kaczynski's manifesto would essentially reward his violence by giving him the audience he wanted. The manifesto outlined his anti-technology ideology in detail, warning that industrial and technological progress posed an existential threat to human freedom. Law enforcement feared that by publishing his work, they would not only be yielding to a terrorist's demands, but also risk promoting his dangerous ideology to a wide audience. Kaczynski's manifesto called for radical action against industrial society, and the FBI worried that sharing it could inspire others to follow in his violent footsteps. Moreover, there was concern that publishing the manifesto would set a precedent. The FBI conceded to Kaczynski's demands. Other extremists might be emboldened to use violence as a means of gaining public attention. Law enforcement agencies have historically avoided negotiations with terrorists, especially when demands involve giving a platform for spreading extremist ideas. This case was unique in that the FBI had to weigh the immediate goal of stopping the bombings against the long-term implications of empowering Kaczynski by giving him a public stage. After months of deliberation, the FBI decided to take the risk and publish the manifesto, reasoning that the potential to prevent future attacks outweighed the ethical concerns. Kaczynski's campaign of terror had lasted nearly 2 decades, injuring and killing multiple victims, and each new bombing intensified public fear. By agreeing to publish his manifesto, the FBI hoped to end the violence and bring a sense of relief to a public that was increasingly anxious about where and when the Unabomber might strike next. Publishing the manifesto was also seen as an opportunity to elicit public assistance in identifying the Unabomber. The FBI knew that Kaczynski's unique writing style and ideological arguments might be recognizable to someone who had known or interacted with him. Indeed, this was the FBI's calculated hope, that by making the manifesto public, they could generate leads from individuals who might recognize the language, tone, or ideas and provide valuable information. Ultimately, this strategy proved successful, as the manifesto's publication led to the critical tip from Kaczynski's brother David, who recognized the writings as his brother and contacted authorities. The FBI's decision to publish the manifesto was ultimately about balancing public safety against the ethical implications of yielding to terrorist demands. On one hand, they were fulfilling their responsibility to protect the public. On the other hand, they were contending with the risk of giving credibility to Kaczynski's violent tactics. The FBI's choice reflected a nuanced approach to counterterrorism, acknowledging that sometimes immediate threats must be addressed, even if doing so requires taking ethically complex actions. The FBI's choice to publish highlighted the agency's broader responsibility in managing the social impact of terrorism. Publication wasn't just about apprehending the Unabomber, it was about using transparency to engage the public as part of the solution, a strategic choice that acknowledged the limitations of law enforcement's ability to solve the case alone. The ethical complexity of the decision emphasized the delicate balance the FBI had to maintain between ensuring public safety and guarding against the legal legitimization of extremist ideas. While Kaczynski's arguments are discussed in some intellectual circles, they have also resonated with more extreme and sometimes radical anti-government and anti-tech groups. Certain factions see his critique of industrial society as justifying a rejection of modern institutions, viewing him as an intellectual martyr of sorts who sacrificed his freedom to expose what they considered the corruptive influence of technology. For these individuals, his manifesto isn't merely a philosophical critique, but a revolutionary call to resist, sometimes even through violent means. In the context of extremist circles, Kaczynski's anti-industrial stance has been co-opted to support anti-establishment ideologies. His manifesto, focused on the control systems embedded within technological society, aligns with the beliefs of some radical groups who oppose government and corporate influence over individual lives. These groups see Kaczynski's ideas as validating their rejection of centralized control, and in some cases, they reference his manifesto to justify resistance against perceived technological or governmental oppression. Although most people do not embrace his violent actions, some extremists view his manifesto as a rallying cry against the growing power of technology in the modern state. Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, offered a window into the mind of a man who transformed his brilliance into a weapon against society. His writings reveal the psychological descent of a once celebrated academic into a violent extremist, driven by a belief that only destruction could save humanity from technological domination. While his ideas continue to provoke debate, they also serve as a sobering reminder of how unchecked isolation and ideological extremism can turn intellectual passion into devastating violence. But how did this 17-year manhunt finally come to an end? Next week, we'll explore the breakthrough of the brother who turned him in. In this emotional and gripping episode, we'll uncover the role of Ted's brother, David Kaczynski, whose difficult decision to act on his suspicions became the key to capturing the Unabomber. What clues led David to suspect his brother, and how did he grapple with the moral weight of turning him in? Join us to learn about the family dynamics, the pivotal moment that broke the case, and how one man's courage brought an end to a reign of terror. And that is our story for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, give us that thumbs up if you like our video. Hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the bell notification button to be notified of future videos. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can go ahead and go to buymeacoffee.com/TCNS. As always, your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and of course, hopefully one day take this show on the road. And your support can help make that happen. Of course, you can find us on all major podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts from. And with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.